conversation. And today with me, I've got Luke Cook, who is known as Cookie, I believe, and he'll tell us about how he got that nickname, who we connected with online because I saw that he runs this daily cafe that really has some pretty amazing conversations.
Welcome to the Cuppa of Life Cafe. Now, this is a place where you can start your day with a dose of positivity and inspiration. So take a virtual seat, get comfy. We'll be around with our donation menu shortly. But first, let's check out some of our incredible guests.
Hello, Cookie.
Hello, my friend. Look at you in the Bondi Blues.
Hey!
There we are. Hello, how are you?
Dog friendly.
We love dogs in the cafe. It's good somehow anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
So welcome, Luke.
Good morning, Kathy. Or is it afternoon? Hello, how are you?
It's afternoon, yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background first, because it's quite eclectic, I gather.
Yeah, so my career background, my first ever job was Lightning Luke on the streets of Sydney, handing out free cans of Coke and working for a radio station, doing live crosses, and loved it, in all honesty. It was one of those things where I could have talks with people out and about, make people happy. And little did I know that's really where my sort of purpose is in life. But, you know, fast forward, I was always progressed through the ranks. I ended up being promotions manager of 2WS back in the day when I was 24 and running all ideas and competitions for the radio station. Went overseas for a couple of years, worked in the UK in radio, then came back to ARN, the parent company of 2WS. And that's when I became network promotions director. So I was managing over, I think, 10 radio stations at that time when I was 27. And then someone tapped me on the shoulder and said, Luke, you'd be good at sales. And I was getting a little bit sick and tired of giving my ideas to people to sell. And I thought I might as well have a crack. So I moved to a company called MCM Media, which was awesome back in the day. I loved the company, ended up being there for 8 years. But I think my mindset started to change from what I loved in life to thinking that money was happiness. So naturally, as I progressed through the ranks, I started to become a little bit more disheartened with what I was doing and where I was heading. And I sort of reached a point in my career where I reached burnout. And then the next stage of my life started to occur.
And I mean, it's quite incredible, you know, that it doesn't surprise me you're a promotions manager, just for the little that I know you at all. It's quite incredible, though, how if we push ourselves and eventually our body and our mind says, I can't do this anymore. Was burnout really terrible for you, or you just realized you just had to chill?
Yeah, no, I think it was just a natural progression for me. Like, you know, I treated every business that I worked in as my own business, and I put my heart and soul into the organizations that I loved. And I think what I tried to do at that time was I started replicating myself to other leaders in the organization, not necessarily crafting my own leadership style. And I think that to me was probably to my biggest detriment because, you know, my boss at that time was working long hours, sending emails late, doing all the rest of it. And I started to lose a little bit of me. And, you know, and the other big thing for me is I was always progressed. So whenever someone left, I was naturally next in line. And was I always ready? Probably not. Was I always given the right tools to manage that? No. Did I find myself, because at the end of, before I reached burnout, I was sales director of that whole organization. And I couldn't even manage myself, let alone my team. And so, you know, when they say leadership is different to management, I now know that. I didn't know that at the time. I just thought, why isn't everyone else succeeding like I tried to in my whole career? And when burnout happened, it was just the sum of all parts really hitting. I didn't know where my next step was. I didn't want to be national sales director. I didn't want to be CEO of that organization. But I didn't know what was next. So I was lost in my sort of vision and purpose. And then the second thing is when you put the pressure and stress of sales, which is the most stressed part in an organization. HR is second, funnily enough. But, you know, like that constant, you're only as good as your next month, started to play its toll. And, you know, burnout happened. I've got my red flag list here, which is when after I reached burnout, that my wife and I sat down and we created this red flag list around the things that weren't me at that time. So it was things like not enjoying what I do, moody at home, unmotivated in day and life, drinking too much, working ridiculous hours for long periods of time, still do that as an FYI, not taking quality time for me, having ongoing sense of not achieving and anxiety attacks on a day-to-day basis. And, you know, I check that red flag list all the time just to see how I'm tracking. And, you know, I've always got one or two things that could be better on that list. However, majority of the time now it's pretty well covered.
You know, it's really interesting because once you've had some sort of mental health challenge, whatever it might be, and let's face it, most of us have, you know, I've had a bout of depression, and I notice for me, if I start to get slightly messy around the house, it's a red flag for me. You know, I just notice that, yeah, it's okay to be like this for a while, but I've really got to start to get back to my daily routine practices to keep my well-being together. And I think you're saying the same. Once some things, you know, they all start to come together, you think, this is major self-care time.
Totally. And, you know, like I'd probably let it go for too long, like I said. It took a moment where I broke down outside of work one day and I called a mate of mine, Podgy, and he just gave it to me over the phone. I've never had a mate talk to me like that, and every second word was a swear word, but he had to shock me into making a decision. And it did at that time. It made me realize that, you know, there's more to life, more to me. And so what I did is I stopped work that next week. I quit. I didn't have another job to go to. And then I took 3 months off to reset me in what I called recharge to take charge, which was just a motion for me just to get myself back, work out what my life balance was, because when work wasn't firing, as in I wasn't enjoying it, I didn't really have anything else to fall back upon. And, you know, that 3 months was quite vital for me to set better foundations. Don't get me wrong, I still have my burnout days and my own business and all that type of stuff. You know, I had to go for a walk before because I just had one of those sort of stressful days today. But I feel like I can manage it a lot better.
So you sound like a fairly self-aware fella. Where you know, to know that, you know, there's stuff going on inside of me. What do I really want to do? Were you always that way, or it's just this?
Yeah, no, I think I have been. I've been very self-aware, probably too much to my detriment as well. You know, like I think I'm a very self-aware person. I know where I'm at when I'm feeling. I probably just didn't know the techniques to be able to get out of it like I do now. Especially around burnout. And I think the other thing for me is I'm a people pleaser, right? And I still am to this day. And you know, like I was always putting in the extra effort for the companies that I worked for. I always was the one that would do the extra tasks. So my own self-care was probably the issue. I never took a holiday. You know, like those elements that now, and again, I'm a business founder now, and it's bloody hard to do everything the same as, you know, I'm preaching to myself again at the moment, but you know, it is, that self-awareness has always been there with me.
So did you get mental health support to work your way through, or?
Yeah, I did. I wouldn't say I was in a depression. I would say that, you know, that burnout led me to realizing that I did need support. And, you know, I did seek that support through a professional service. Which helped navigate those early stages, but it was really that getting back to me, which was where I needed to really spend the most time, which got me to where I am now.
Yeah. The reason I ask that, because we know how reluctant men are to talk about those things, and the fellas that we've actually had a conversation with, a lot of them have actually, one man's wife had died, and he was really struggling with grief and loss, and he spoke about the mental health support. It's absolutely okay if you don't connect with the first person, find someone you actually connect with. So I'm just following that theme, is that, you know, it's okay to reach out for support, and that's been the message during COVID, really loud and clear. But the fit's got to be right. It's not necessarily the first person you meet, because they're your co-partner as you rediscover yourself. Yeah,
totally. And that's where probably my mates really helped me within that area, because I knew there was a few that I could really lean into without any judgment or anything else, where I could share my vulnerability without being, you know, questioned about my manhood. Well, perceived manhood as So, you know, yeah, the network is definitely what got me
Yeah.
through. And my
So,
wife,
so
and my wife as well, who has been a major support throughout my whole journey.
yeah. So, thank you for sharing that. So just moving on to, you founded FUNLOCKA, is that correct? And is it still going?
Yeah, so when I was going through those moments, beyond trying to work out what my life balances were, I really started to think about what I enjoyed in career. And getting back to my Lightning Luke days, I think, you know, like just thinking about what I really loved. And it came down to three things. One, I wanted to make people happy. It's a core part of my DNA. Like I said, I'm a people pleaser, so I can't really lose that. Obviously, I need to look at myself a little bit more, but how you make people happy, the easiest way is to understand what motivates them in life. What are their interests? What are their hobbies? What are their desires? What puts a smile on their face? You know, those things that they like to do outside of work, not necessarily in work. And then the other thing that I didn't want to lose was my network of relationships and contacts, you know, with sporting clubs, record labels, movie companies, radio stations, TV networks, whatever it is. So that's when the idea of FUNLOCKA came about. Was I had a look at the rewards and loyalty and gifting market in companies, and I found everything was very a tangible gift without any thought. So a gift card or whatever. And I said, wouldn't it be great if I could match experiences to people's interests and then allow a company to reward that person based off that interest and knowledge? So I built an app called FUNLOCKA, which was designed where companies could onboard their staff with the FUNLOCKA app and build real-time data around that employee's interests, hobbies, and desires outside of work. So that was the original idea. We then moved into doing like team building events, client entertainment programs, leadership retreats, and really unique ideas that you couldn't find on the internet anywhere else. So that's where it started. I invested my own personal capital into it. To get it going. Not being a tech head, I have scar wounds all over me with bad mistakes that have cost me a fortune. Yeah, things were going okay. I wouldn't say they were going great prior to COVID, but then when COVID hit, the business just stopped overnight completely.
Was that scary?
I cried for days. No, in all honesty, I did. It was, you know, when you've invested not only a vision that you believe in, you've invested your own personal capital into it with not much left in the bank. And then all of a sudden, something out of your control stops everything. It was a really challenging time for me for a good couple of weeks. Obviously, I'm a doer. So I don't, like, if my back's against the wall, I'm going to fight no matter what. And you know, that's what's happened now with what we've launched. But yeah, no, at the time I was, I wasn't in a good spot, but I landed on my back and I was looking up, and that's the main thing.
So that's a good segue to Cuppa Life. So how did that idea come to you? Were you sitting in the bath with a glass of champagne, or where were you when you think that's what I can do?
I walked up to the cafe up the road to get a coffee just before everyone was locked in. And, I was walking back and I started thinking about what our brand promise is with FUNLOCKA, and our brand promise is to help companies build happy and healthy communities. That's the vision and the purpose. And I said, well, you know, experiences aren't dead, they're just different. We just need to think differently in what we do. And whilst I was worried about COVID, as in the virus, I was probably more worried, and I did a post straight away on LinkedIn at that time where I voiced my opinion that I go, this is more detrimental to the mental health and well-being of people out there. Like, you know, people are losing their jobs, they're not knowing where they were, the uncertainty of the world and everything that came with it. So I gave a call to my head of experience, Jill Kovitz, and I said, Jill, we need to do something here, not only for the community and our business communities and our clients or potential clients, but also for ourselves to get through it, because we didn't have a dollar coming in at all. Like, all revenue was pulled overnight. And that's where I said, well, let's just start something where we can just help people start their day with some positivity and inspiration. And we started inviting a couple of guests. We only thought we'd probably only go for about 3 or 4 weeks, but the feedback that we got from even the first session around thank you for at least connecting and having a conversation. And, you know, fast forward now, we're 32 weeks in. We've been open the virtual doors every morning at 8:30 a.m, Monday to Friday. And we've had over 160 conversations now with 200 plus experts, personalities, and celebrities.
So do people just come? I mean, how did you get the word out? It was like I've seen some of the numbers. It's staggering.
Yeah, so we reached out to the corporate community because they're all looking for something to motivate their staff. So we send out a weekly poster to about 70 odd companies, and they share it with their staff every single week. It's free to get access. So we don't charge anything, and people go, well, how do you make money? And, we can talk about that in a second. But, for us at that time, it was just about being authentic and making a difference. And I think that authentic nature and making a difference where people can just show up for the speakers or the experts or the celebrities that they want to hear about, and have conversations or hear me have conversations and show my vulnerability and understanding around different topic areas that I may not even have a clue myself around, transgender and all these types of areas, where it's just opened my eyes to a world around us and the fact that conversations can really shift the change of direction in a person forever, but then also community groups in general. So yeah, our database has grown. We've had over 20,000 individuals all across the world join us. And we've managed to raise close to 27 grand for charities as well, which has been brilliant.
Wow. And how do you do that? How do you raise the
So it's
money?
free for people to come in, but once people are in there, we have a virtual menu where people can make a donation to that chosen charity partner for that day. So yeah, we've got plans to keep on going up until Christmas. I think we haven't announced when our last episode is, but you can be sure that Santa Claus will be there. Next year we are looking at changing the model because it isn't sustainable to do everything for free forever.
So that's probably a good segue. How will you charge next year? I want our community to know they can join. They can come along to the coffee shop with their own coffee and buy something for a charity. And next year, where will you go with that?
Yeah, so what we found is now that we've got access to such incredible talent and experts, by offering it up free of charge in the initial instance, allowed us to capture the essence of that expert and personality in a conversation like what we're doing today, which was brilliant. Because then what we do is we've gone out to corporates and gone, do you want to have a one-on-one conversation with your staff around mental health? Do you want to have a one-on-one conversation with your staff around sustainability? And now we've got a network of about 200 experts and personalities that we are monetizing external to our morning zone. But for next year, we're going to keep it really cheap. It's going to be less than a coffee per week to join our sessions.
Right. So people, where it's at the moment, they join this session and it's like a webinar. Is that the way?
Yeah, so it's a virtual live webinar. Everyone's in a chat room, so you don't have to get dressed up. You can just stay in your pajamas. It's me and an expert or a personality on a screen. We open the doors at 8:30 a.m. We usually shut around sort of 9 a.m. to 9:05. And we just have a conversation. Usually there's one or two key topic areas that we cover in there. And traditionally trying to find some practical takeaways that people can walk away with at the end of the session itself.
And do you have themes? Have you got you can have conversations about anything. Have you chosen some plinths, so to speak?
Yeah, so it depends on the seasonality of it. So, we supported like Oz Harvest and ran a whole Oz Harvest week. We supported Wayside Chapel recently. So yeah, we do try and theme it to the calendar year. This week we're obviously, I'm not sure where this goes, but this week's around NAIDOC week. So we've had a lot of the Indigenous community in to chat about their stories and their journeys. So yeah, we do theme it. Next year is going to be really focused though. So we're going to be focusing it around 10 key topic areas around happiness, mindset, mental health, wellness, community and giving, money, sustainability, diversity and inclusion, productivity and communication and leadership. So they're the 10 pillars that we're going to be focused on next year, but they're going to be spread out to tie in with seasonality as well.
No wonder we're talking, like we're so similar with where we're coming from. It's just amazing. All right, so let's just back it up. So anyone can join. They just go onto the website, which is Cuppa Life.
Cuppaoflife.com.
Yeah. Okay, and they choose the session they want to go to?
Correct. So we usually upload 5 days in advance of all the sessions that they've got coming up. And they can just register for each one of those sessions that they want to attend. By registering as well, we do send a replay link to everyone who just registered. Even if they miss out on the morning, they can catch up with it later on.
And do you end up with a lot of people sometime and just a few people the other time?
Yeah,
Or
it
just
varies. You know, some days we might only get 50 people in there. Some days we'll get 400 or 500, depending on who the talent
yeah,
is.
yeah. And do they like to engage or do they just like to listen?
From the community's perspective,
Yeah,
the chat room's very vibey. They don't talk, so it's only myself and the expert that talks, but the community that we've built, as in the internal community now that is built between the audience, where they check in on each other, they talk to each other. We even,
that's great.
Jill and myself even have our mums on there that have now sparked a relationship as well. You know, like it is made available for anyone. It's not just workers. Like we've got Megan from the UK, who's a 24-year-old girl who just tunes in, and she's tuned in every single episode since day one. And, you know, people are seeking conversations where they can learn. And that's been the biggest thing for me, like what you said at the start, you know, and the reason why you're doing this, the power of the conversation can shift change forever in a person. And it's for me as well. Like I think I've been blinkered in my career. Like I've known about topic areas like disability, inclusion, transgender, all these areas that I've been, oh yeah, I know, but I didn't know. I didn't know. And I've had many awkward conversations where I didn't even know how to tackle the questioning, but I found that awkwardness or that nervousness was because it was me learning. And that's what I got the biggest thing out of. And I want companies to realize that you need to have better conversations with your team, not corporate jargon stuff either. I mean, hit them with stories that emotionally hook someone in.
Yeah, well, you know, I always say to people, facts tell, stories sell. I mean, you know, people, they will remember a story explaining a situation. Oz Harvest is a great example. Yeah. I mean, once you've heard Ronnie's story, you understand, you know, why she's doing what she's doing. So let's just talk about your life now. Do you go to work or do you work from home? Well, do you go to work? Where do you work from? Do you have an office? Do you work from home? How does this all...
Even prior to COVID, we were working remotely.
Yeah.
So, we're still working remotely right now. We're Sydney based, but obviously the biggest eye opener for me is FUNLOCKA prior to COVID was very geographically challenged. We were only as good as the experiences we could find in a market. So we were very good in Sydney, but we were okay in Melbourne, but we didn't have enough people on the ground to source experiences in other markets. So bigger businesses couldn't work with us. Now that we've launched this virtual environment or been able to have conversations in a virtual sense, like we've had bookings in the US, UK, APAC, and wow. Bigger companies now, and you know this, but bigger companies now are seeing, well, bigger companies realize now that remote working and flexible working is here to stay in some capacity, not to what it has been, but it will be here. So how do you continuously engage in a format? And I think what we've designed and how we've thought about the structure around how do we make it inspiring, how do we make it educational, how do we make it entertaining? That's what I think we do differently to most other virtual solutions out there.
I've seen some of the shorts. It's fun, you know, like it's happy. It's you know where it should be. So tell me, you also run masterclasses. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we do. We've worked with those talent that can carry a masterclass around topic areas. We've probably done about 50 masterclasses now for companies, and they're usually like 1 hour workshop material, virtually online. We ran a series in September called Spring Into You, which was a 6-week masterclass program where we helped people navigate from fear to developing a life plan, where each week at lunchtime on a Thursday at 12:30, we had an expert chat around one of those topic areas, which were, fear with Jill Hicks, who was a London bombing survivor, Kamal Sama, who's a former monk and venture capitalist, around resilience, Sean Hall around energy, Kerry Pottas, the Olympic gold medalist, around mindset, Libby Babbitt, who's a health and fitness guru. She talked about your own personal health, and then Shannon Kennedy, who was all around your own life plan. We had 27 companies sign up, around 2,000 people in attendance, and clients loved it.
Wonderful. And did they pay for that?
Yeah, so that's how we make our money, through the masterclasses, private Q&A sessions, virtual experiences. Tomorrow we're doing an experience with Google where we've sent out 100 sunflower seeds to their staff. We've got Costa Georgiadis, who's half man, half hedge from the ABC. joining us, and he's doing a sustainability talk and then teaching the Google staff how to grow sunflower seeds.
That sounds fabulous. You just send out sunflower seeds. So all across Australia to all Google employees.
To Sydney, yeah.
Sydney, okay.
Yeah.
So much fun. So tell me, I mean, you've probably answered this now as we come towards the end. Meaning and purpose and spirituality. What does that mean to you? And has that changed during COVID?
Oh yeah, for my own internal spirituality, it's, you know, trying to find those energy sources where it attracts, you know, positive outcomes for me. That's where I see spirituality is being me in my whole. I wasn't that prior to starting FUNLOCKA. I lost that even during FUNLOCKA. COVID's made me realize my own self-worth during this time, and you know, for me, I meditate regularly. I have this meditation spot that is just beautiful that I go to every single morning.
Do you?
Yep. Yeah, I go for a run at about 5:30 in the morning, go to my spot, do my meditation, and I've got a set routine. So, you know, I try and start my day with all positive aspects until I need to open up my emails, which is usually just before Cuppa in the morning. But prior to that, I don't do anything that's negative at all.
One of the things, I think I told you, we run self-care school as well as part of what we do, and we have this really set routine around daily rituals. You know, the morning ritual of setting your intentions for the day, and you know, much what you're saying about not allowing negative things into your space, and then the same for evening rituals in whatever form, about stillness and quietening the mind. Because, you know, if we run 24/7, you know, that's the thing in our chaplaincy conversations we found with people that were just going at it. They couldn't cope because there was so much else happening at their life. And the one message that's really come across loud and clear in our conversations is people have slowed things down.
Yeah.
You know, like what's important to me.
Yeah, totally. I'm getting better at it. My nighttime routine wasn't as good. It's getting better. Like I've actually got 10 things that I try and do before I go to sleep. But, you know, being a sole founder, I'm still working ridiculous hours, and definitely that working ridiculous hours for long periods of time on my red flag list is something that I'm still doing right now at the moment.
Well, I've got to say, thanks for sharing your story. Really enjoyed the chat. I can't wait to work with you some more with our community, and we'll talk to you really soon. Thanks, Luke.
Thank you so much, Kathy, for this opportunity. Talk to you soon.
Bye.